Christmas dinner, my family expected a warm evening with laughter and gifts. Instead, everything blew up when I discovered my sister Carol had stolen my identity to secretly fund her over-the-top wedding. What started as awkward tension over money spiraled into shocking confessions, screaming across the table, and my dad almost kicking her out of the house. By dessert, our family bond was completely shattered. So, I never thought I'd be writing here, but honestly I'm still shaking after what went down this Christmas. My family is a mess, and I feel like I just lived through something you'd only hear about on Reddit. I'll start from the beginning. My sister Carol 39F has always been the centre of attention type. She's dramatic, ambitious, and constantly chasing some big moment. Lately, her entire personality has been about her upcoming wedding. She's marrying this guy named Victor, and while he's decent enough, the wedding she's planning looks like something out of a Royal magazine. Problem is, Carol's never been good with money. Anyway, fast forward to our family Christmas dinner at my parents' house. It's a tradition: roast beef, mashed potatoes, the works. My dad Rick, 65 carves the roast, my mom Debbie, 63 makes too much wine punch, and we all sit crammed around the big oak table. Carol comes in all glammed up, talking about floral arrangements and harpist like she's hosting the Oscars. My younger cousin Mark, 27, mutters under his breath, "Who even pays for harpist?" At first, it was the usual family chaos: jokes, food, kids running around. Then Carol starts steering every conversation back to her wedding. She kept dropping names of vendors, talking about her dress, and then casually said, "Oh, it's so much easier now that the finances are sorted." That's when my stomach flipped. Because just last week, I got a weird call from my bank about a flagged credit card charge in the thousands. It was for a luxury wedding venue in Carol City. I thought it was fraud and had already started disputing it. At the time, I didn't even connect the dots. So I asked, half joking, "Wait, Carol, you didn't somehow use my card for this, did you?" Everyone laughed, but Carol's face changed. She froze. My mom tried to smooth it over, like, "Don't joke like that during dinner, honey." But Carol wouldn't look at me. My heart started pounding. I pressed, "Carol, answer me, did you?" That's when she snapped. "I didn't think you'd even notice. You don't even use that account like that, and besides, it's not like you're struggling. I was going to pay it back after the wedding." The entire table went dead silent. My dad dropped his fork. My cousin Mark muttered, "No way. Me, you stole my identity to pay for a wedding." "Carol, it's not stealing, it's borrowing. Families help each other, don't they?" I could feel my face burning. My mom started crying, my dad's face turned red, and Carol just kept doubling down like she was a victim. That was just the beginning. By the time dessert hit the table, it turned into the biggest screaming match my family's ever had. The moment the words left her mouth, the whole room turned into chaos. My dad slammed his hand on the table so hard the glasses rattled. "Dad, Carol, are you out of your mind? That's a felony. You can't just take someone's identity because you feel like it." Carol rolled her eyes like he was overreacting. "Carol, Dad, stop being so dramatic. It's not like I stole from a stranger. It's my brother, he should want to help me." That's when my blood boiled. "Me? Help? You didn't ASK. You went behind my back, opened accounts in my name, and racked up thousands of dollars. That's not help, that's fraud." My mom, bless her, tried to jump in. She had tears in her eyes. "Mom, let's just everyone calm down. Maybe we can figure out a way." But I cut her off. "No, Mom, don't baby her. She committed identity theft. That's what this is." Cousin Mark leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eating up every second. He always loved drama, and now he had front row seats. He whispered to me, "You gonna press charges? Because honestly, you should." Carol shrieked, "Press charges? Against your own sister? Are you insane?" My dad shot her a look so sharp she finally shut up for a second. He pointed his fork at her like it was a weapon. "Dad, do you have any idea what you've done to your brother, to this family? If he hadn't noticed, he could have been ruined financially. Ruined." Carol actually had the nerve to look offended. Well, maybe if he wasn't so uptight about money, this wouldn't be a big deal. That line nearly broke me. I could feel my hands shaking under the table. "I've been saving for a down payment on a house, Carol. A house, do you get that? And you went and spent it on flowers and harpists." She tried to argue again, but Victor, her fiancé, finally spoke up. He had been dead silent the whole night, just shoving food around his plate. Then he muttered, "I told you this was a bad idea." Everyone froze. "Me, wait, you knew?" Victor looked pale. "She said she had it under control. I didn't think it would get this far." That was the match on the gasoline. My dad stood up, towering over both of them. "Get out. Both of you. Out of my house. Right now." Carol gasped like she'd been slapped. "You kicking me out on Christmas?" "Dad?" "Yes, on Christmas, because you don't steal from your own family and then sit here like you've done nothing wrong." My mom was sobbing, begging him not to make a scene, but the damage was already done. Tara was screaming. Victor looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him, and I just sat there shaking, realizing I didn't even recognize my sister anymore. And that's when she threw the ball, and that changed everything. Carol's face twisted into something I'd never seen before. She slammed her napkin on the table and shouted, "Fine, you all want the truth. I only did it because Mom and Dad never helped me the way they helped you." The whole room froze. My mom's sobbing stopped mid-breath. "Me? What are you talking about?" Carol dragged a finger at me like I was a villain. "You don't get it, do you? When you needed money for college, Dad co-signed your loans. When you wanted to buy your car, Mom gave you her savings. What did I get? Nothing. I had to scrape by on my own, and the one time I tried to have something nice, suddenly I'm a criminal." I was stunned. Yeah, my parents had helped me a couple of times, but it wasn't like I hadn't paid them back. And none of that excuse of stealing my identity. Dad's face turned crimson. "Are you kidding me? Carol, you had every chance. We offered to help you countless times, but you refused because you wanted to prove you could do it on your own. Don't twist this around." Carol scoffed. "Oh please, you've always favoured him. Everyone knows it. I'm just the screw-up daughter who can't do anything right. Cousin Mark leaned in, whispering just loud enough, "She's not entirely wrong about favoritism." That was gasoline on the fire. My mom snapped at him, "Mark, stay out of this," but it was too late. Carol had latched onto it. "Carol, see, even he sees it. You've always treated me like second best, so excuse me for taking what I deserved for once." I couldn't even process it. You deserve to destroy my credit and wreck my life because you're jealous. Are you even listening to yourself? Victor finally put his head in his hands and muttered, "This is exactly why I didn't want a big wedding." Carol spun on him. "Don't you dare start. You said you supported me." "Victor supported you. Not a legal fraud." "Carol, there's a difference." The table erupted. My dad was yelling about calling the bank and possibly the police. My mom was begging everyone to calm down. Mark was half laughing, half terrified. I just sat there gripping my chair, because in that moment, I realized Carol didn't feel guilty at all. She actually thought she was justified. Then she dropped the real bomb. "Carol," with venom in her voice, "you know what? Maybe I used your name for more than just the wedding. Maybe you should check your credit reports. Brother dear." My heart sank. "What the hell did you do, Carol?" She smirked. "Guess you'll find out soon enough." The room went silent. Even my dad stopped yelling. For the first time that night, there was pure fear in my chest. Because if what she said was true, this went way deeper than one stolen credit card. And that's when I knew Christmas dinner was over. Our family had just entered full-on disaster territory. After that last line, the air in the dining room felt like it weighed a ton. Nobody touched our food. Even the kids, who had been running around earlier, were now sitting quietly in the living room, sensing the tension. I swallowed hard and asked again, slower this time, "Carol, what exactly did you do?" She just leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, smirking like she'd finally won something. "Let's just say, you might get a few surprises in the mail, but don't worry, I'll fix it once the wedding's over." My dad nearly blew a gasket. "Fix IT? Carol, you could have ruined his life. Do you understand the seriousness of what you're admitting?" Carol rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop with the dramatics. Do you all act like I killed someone? It's just some paperwork and a couple of credit checks. That's risk." That's when I stood up, shaking. "No, this isn't just paperwork. This is my life. Do you realize what you've done? I could lose my shot at a mortgage. I could get flagged for fraud at work. My credit score could tank for years. This isn't a joke, Carol." She stayed silent, but the smirk never left her face. Victor broke the silence. His voice was low but steady. "Carol, tell them what you did, all of it." Her head snapped toward him. "Don't you dare." "Victor, no, I'm done covering for you. You opened 3 store accounts under his name. You took out a small personal loan too. Then you told me it was just temporary, that you'd close everything once you got the wedding deposits back." My knees almost gave out. My mom gasped so loud it echoed. My dad grabbed his phone immediately, probably to call the bank or maybe even the cops. I looked straight at Carol. Why me? You could have asked for help. You could have talked to me. Why did you go behind my back?" And finally her facade cracked. Her eyes welled up and her voice trembled. "Because I knew you'd say no. You always say no. You've got everything together, and I've got nothing. I just wanted one day where I wasn't the loser sister, where I could walk down the aisle and look like I had it all." My mom broke down sobbing again. Dad muttered, "This is unbelievable." I didn't know whether to scream or cry. I wanted to feel sympathy, but the rage was stronger. "You stole years of financial stability from me so you could play princess for a day. Do you even hear yourself?" Carol didn't respond. She just stared at her plate, her whole body shaking. Victor pushed back his chair, stood up, and said quietly, "I can't do this anymore." Then he walked out of the dining room. Just like that. Carol screamed after him, "Victor, don't you dare leave me," then bolted after him, slamming the door so hard the decorations rattled. All that was left was silence, broken only by my dad saying, "Son, we're going to the police tomorrow." And in that moment, I realized my sister's wedding wasn't just ruined, it might never happen at all. The next morning, the house was eerily quiet. Christmas decorations still hung on the tree, half lit, but the warmth and laughter were completely gone. I got up before anyone else, my head pounding from the previous night's chaos. I went straight to my laptop and pulled up my bank accounts and credit reports. Every worst-case scenario Carol hinted had come true. Multiple unauthorized charges, new credit lines, and some suspicious personal loans in my name. My stomach dropped. I had to breathe, I had to stay calm, but I felt like my world had been turned upside down. My dad was already in the kitchen, sipping bitter coffee. He looked exhausted, eyes red from staying up late on the phone with banks. "I hope you're ready for today. We're calling the police and your bank. Everything has to be documented," he said quietly. Mom appeared behind him, still crying softly, clutching a digital like it was a lifeline. "She's your sister, but this is serious, son. You can't just let it slide," she said. I nodded. I wanted justice, not revenge, but it was going to hurt to do it to my own sister. Then Carol appeared at the doorway. She looked like a ghost pale, her hair messy from last night. "Please don't call the cops. I'll fix it. I'll work with the bank. I cut her off. "Carol, you've already done damage that can't just be fixed. You've ruined my finances and our trust. You need to take responsibility. That means the authorities." Her eyes filled with tears, but I could tell it wasn't guilt, it was fear. Fear of losing her fiancé, her wedding, her reputation. Mom intervened softly. "Carol, you need to accept the consequences. Only then can you start making things right." She nodded, silently trembling. For a brief moment, I thought maybe she finally understood the gravity of what she did. But when Dad finally called the police to report the identity theft, she bolted out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind her. The rest of the morning was a blur of calls and paperwork. Banks, police, credit bureaus. I had to track every fraudulent account and transaction. Mom and Dad hovered, offering support, but I mostly worked in silence, barely looking at them. My heart was heavy, but also filled with a strange sense of clarity. I wouldn't let Carol destroy my life completely. By the afternoon, Carol returned. She didn't speak much, just handed me an envelope with a partial repayment from her own savings and slumped in a chair. She avoided my eyes completely. I said nothing. I couldn't. I just held the envelope, thinking about what last night had done to our family. Victor wasn't there, the house felt empty, and I realized that even if she repaired the finances, the trust between us might never return. And yet, deep down, I knew one thing: I had survived this. I'd face the fallout, deal with the banks, and maybe one day forgive Carol, but it would take years. Identity theft wasn't something you just brushed off. For now, the house was quiet, broken, and still decorated with Christmas lights. But I knew nothing about our family or Carol would ever be the same again. Later that evening, there was a knock on the front door. I opened it to see Victor standing there, coat in hand, looking worn out and guilty. His eye landed on me, then the envelope in my hands. Victor, can we talk? I stepped aside, letting him in. The tension was thick. Mom hovered in the background, hoping for some kind of reconciliation, while Dad remained in the living room, quietly nursing his coffee. Victor sighed, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know how deep this went. Carol kept saying it was just temporary, just to get deposits. I should have stopped it earlier. I stared at him, forced-eyed. He knew something was wrong and did nothing. That's part of this mess, Victor. He nodded, guilt written all over his face. I know, and I can't ask you to forgive me, but I want to be honest about everything. I don't want to be part of this fraud to lie for her anymore. At that moment, Carol appeared behind him, shoulders slumped. She avoided looking at me directly, eyes flicking between Victor and our parents. Carol, Victor, I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I just wanted everything to be perfect. Victor shook his head. Perfect. Carol, you've hurt your family, and maybe me too. I can't stand by while this continues. Carol's lip trembled, and I saw the first glimmer of genuine remorse. Mom stepped forward softly. Carol, it's time to make things right. Apologies won't fix everything, but honesty is the first step. Carol nodded quietly, voice barely audible. I'm sorry to everyone. I shouldn't have stolen from my own brother. I let jealousy and greed get the better of me. I'll work with the banks. I'll pay everything back. And I understand if you never forgive me fully. The tension in the room didn't dissolve instantly, but there was a shift. Victor sat down, letting the anger drain out of him. Mom held back tears, and even Dad relaxed his rigid posture slightly. I looked at Carol, my heart still heavy but a little lighter. It's going to take a long time to rebuild trust. Carol, what you did, it can't be undone overnight, but taking responsibility is a start. Carol swallowed hard and nodded. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll fix this, even if it costs me everything. Victor finally spoke, softer now. I think maybe we should postpone the wedding, give everyone some space to breathe, to heal. Carol hesitated, then agreed quietly. Yeah, maybe that's best. It wasn't perfect. The house still felt heavy with last night's tension, and the future was uncertain. But for the first time, there was a tiny crack of hope and acknowledgement that mistakes had been made and their repair, though difficult, was possible. Mom sighed, wrapping an arm around Dad. It's not the Christmas we planned, but at least everyone's alive and talking. I sat down, finally allowing myself to breathe. The ordeal wasn't over, but at least the war had paused, and Carol had finally begun to face the consequences of her actions. A week later, the house felt cautiously normal. The Christmas tree was still up, but the tension had softened just enough to allow conversation without shouting. Carol had been working tirelessly calling the bank, closing fraudulent accounts, and transferring funds to repay what she owed me. It wasn't fun to watch, but at least she was doing it. I finally sat down with her one evening, alone in the living room. The fire crackled, but the room felt cold. Me? Carol, you know this isn't just about money, right? It's about trust. Our family. The way you manipulated everything, my name, my finances, it shook me to the core. She nodded, eyes downcast. I know, I can't take back what I did. I want to make sure I never hurt anyone like that again. I exhaled, a mixture of frustration and relief. It's going to take time, years, probably, but seeing you own up to it is the first step. Carol sniffled and whispered, I'm sorry, truly, I wish I could undo it. Meanwhile, Victor had stepped back from the wedding entirely. He and Carol were now in couples therapy. He wanted to give her a chance, but he wasn't willing to ignore what she'd done. Mom and Dad supported her in making restitution, but they also made it clear there would be consequences if she ever crossed boundaries like that again. Cousin Mark popped by a few times, smirking through the awkwardness. Man, this is going to go down in family lore. Christmas disaster of the century. I laughed bitterly. Yes, story of our lives, apparently. Over the next few weeks, Carol completed her repayments, slowly repairing her credit under supervision. The banks were forgiving once she demonstrated consistent effort, and I finally felt a glimmer of relief as my accounts returned to normal. One evening, Mom gathered us all in the living room. This was a hard lesson, but it reminds us why honesty and communication are everything in this family. We can't protect each other if we didn't trust each other. Carol nodded solemnly, her expression serious for the first time in months. I get it now. I can't let envy or desperation drive me to hurt those I love. I'll never do this again. Dad, still wary but softened, added, We love you, Carol, but love doesn't erase bad choices. Keep proving you've learned, every single day. And there it was, a fragile truce, built on responsibility, restitution, and a recognition that trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. I still feel the sting when I remember last Christmas, but there's hope now. Carol is finally confronting her actions, and maybe, just maybe, our family can recover from the mess she caused. Christmas dinner next year will probably be quiet, but at least, for the first time, I feel like the silence will be from peace, not chaos. We survived Carol's identity theft and her wedding drama. And though the scars remain, we've learned something we'll never forget. Honesty and accountability are the only way to keep a family together.